The city hums beneath the glass like a secret you're not supposed to hear, and I'm already rehearsing polite exits when Jess sweeps in shimmering. A comet with a reservation. We orbit the white linen table under soft tungsten halos, the skyline posing like it knows our names, and I tell myself water will be enough. Priya is filming the sunset as if she owns the hour. Liam drapes his jacket on the chair like a flag that claims territory. Laughter arrives before the waiter does. Champagne corks leap for freedom, menus open like invitations to other people's wallets, and the first bottle sweats against silver like a nervous guest. I count the zeros on the wine list the way a person counts breaths in a panic. If friendship is a currency, I'm already overdrawn. Jess clinks glass to glass. To us. And the toast echoes off the windows. A bell you can unring. I lift my water, clear and guilty as truth, and hope the night forgets about me. It never does. The first course arrives like a parade I didn't buy a ticket for. Marbled steaks breathing heat, oysters arranged like moons, truffle fog curling over plates as if the kitchen were casting weather. Compliments fly with the same confidence as credit limits, and the waiter's pen scratches like a cricket in high summer, never pausing at my empty line. I try to anchor myself to the shape of the chair, to the cool ring the water leaves on wood, to the polite smile that says I'm happy to be here, while my chest thrums with a different beat. Jess leans in, glitter stitching the air around her, and tells the table I'm so good for joining, like virtue can be poured. Priya films a champagne tower, Liam negotiates bottles like a diplomat of bubbles, and I keep counting the ways to say no without making a scene. It feels like a magic trick. How to disappear while staying perfectly visible. Somewhere between the second and third bottle, Jess tells a story about a client who pays in watches, and laughter beads on every rim like sugar. The city's breath fogs the glass, and our reflections gather there, richer, prettier, louder. A second table where no one worries about the bill. I ask the waiter for more water, and his nod is mercifully neutral. A small acknowledgement that not wanting anything is still a choice. Liam taps the table with the back of a spoon to emphasize a punchline, his charm scattering like coins across a floor, and Priya prompts us to shout a toast for the camera. My voice barely makes the cut. I wonder how many times I've bought my way into these nights with silence and smiles, and whether the receipt is longer than I think. The steak knives catch light. The city blinks. My stomach tightens at the arithmetic I keep refusing to do. The manager makes a brief pass, polite as a bellhop in a cathedral, and the staff synchronize like a ballet. Plates land, sauces glide. A silver dome lifts with a gasp of scented steam. I smile when expected, nod when questions hover, but the night has the weight of borrowed clothes. Jess asks if we're doing equal split. As usual, casual as weather, and the table answers with a confident chorus. Relief, buzzing like a neon sign. A shape inside me flinches. I picture the numbers forming, neat soldiers ready to march over my account, and feel a strange vertigo. As if the skyline tilted, and I could slide right off into the dark. Priya's camera hovers again, hungry for the moment, and I angle away instinctively. A dancer. Stepping off mark. The waiter refills crystal so gently it's almost kindness. I say nothing. Silence is my last affordable luxury. Dessert is a theater of gold, leaf, and smoke. A flourish that pretends the night has been a dream. But the bill arrives with a gravity that bends the air. A black folder lands, soft as a verdict, and conversation tightens around it like a noose disguised as ribbon. Liam reaches first, performs the ritual, scan, whistle, grin, then sets it between us like a centerpiece. Jess announces, bright and generous, that we'll just divide by 4, and the numbers become a chorus I can hear even before I see them. My pulse counts faster than I can manage. I taste metal, Or maybe it's the city's wind pushing through the seams of the glass. Priya's camera blinks red. The moment wants to be content. I hear my own voice, distant and steady. Say the smallest word a person can say and still be whole. No, the room does not applaud. It holds its breath. The silence after the word no is not empty. It's sharp, charged, alive. Jess blinks once, a slow recalibration, as if I've spoken in a dialect she forgot existed. Liam laughs too loudly. She's joking, right? And the table rushes to fill the space I've emptied. Priya lowers her phone, her screen catching my reflection like a warning. The waiter stands a polite distance away. That perfect neutrality that says I've seen this before. I repeat it, quieter, but heavier. No. And this time, it lands. Jess's smile falters. The gold leaf on her dessert trembling as her spoon pauses midair. There's a moment where I almost apologize, where I want to trade dignity for ease. But the math in my chest has already been done. I ordered nothing. I owe nothing. And for the first time all night, the city outside seems to breathe for me. Jess leans back, the silk shifting like static. It's how we always do it, she says, the edge behind her tone tucked neatly beneath charm. I nod slowly, voice steady. I didn't eat. Liam exhales through his nose, the diplomat cracking. It's about being fair, not literal. Fair. The word stings. Priya fidgets with her napkin, eyes darting to her untouched phone. The kind of silence that records even without sound. I feel every pair of eyes at nearby tables pretending not to look. The waiter remains still, caught between protocol and pity. The candle burns low, flames steady, indifferent to discomfort. Jess's gaze meets mine and something fragile inside both of us snaps. Not with noise, but with understanding. We are not friends right now. We are people negotiating shape. The bill remains unopened on the table like a wound no one wants to touch. Priya's voice breaks the tension first. Maybe we just cover our parts. But her tone wavers, too light to carry the weight. Jess scoffs softly, stirring air heavy with perfume and embarrassment. That's not how we do things, she repeats, softer now, but more dangerous. Liam checks his phone as though numbers might side with him. I stare at the city, its lights blinking in perfect apathy. My reflection there looks older, steadier, uninvited. The night, once glossy and social, has turned clinical. We're all just performing civility while watching the ledger balance friendship against money. I feel strangely awake, as though the act of saying no peeled something honest from me. The quiet is almost sacred. Jess pushes the bill toward me, not gently. You're serious, she says, disbelief curling at the edge. I meet her eyes, completely. The word lands with a click, like a lock sliding shut. Liam tries to laugh again, but it sounds like glass under pressure. Priya finally puts her phone down. No camera, no filter, no escape. The waiter steps forward instinctively, sensing the crest of something uncomfortable, but I shake my head. I don't need rescuing. Jess's cheeks flush, not from anger but humiliation. A mirror I recognize too well. The table that once gleamed now feels small, airless, suffocating with perfume and politeness. Outside, thunder rolls quietly, the kind of sound the city swallows. Inside, no one moves. The champagne bubbles, die in the glass. When the waiter finally collects the folder, he does it silently, the practiced grace of someone who's learned never to intervene. Jess murmurs something about Venmo later, her voice smaller now, no longer commanding the room. Liam avoids my gaze, scrolling through nothing. Priya exhales, half laugh, half sigh, as though the night itself has run out of script. I gather my bag, careful not to scrape the chair. "You okay?" she asks softly. I don't know what to say. The air smells like citrus and uneaten sugar. Behind us, the table glows with what's left. Crumbs, glass, regret. I walk toward the elevator with the feeling of someone stepping out of a photograph. When the doors close, I see their reflections shrink to flickers of gold, expensive and very far away. The elevator ride down feels like sinking through velvet. Quiet, plush, suffocating. My phone trembles in my palm with the first vibration, then another, as if the night refuses to let me reach the ground. Jess's message arrives like a press release. "We're disappointed. This isn't how friends behave." Liam follows with a thumbs up that looks like a shrug wearing a tie. Priya types and erases, a flicker of empathy trapped in the typing bubbles before going dark. I catch my reflection in the stainless steel door. A woman who finally chose a line and stood on it, steady as a metronome. The lobby opens onto rain-slick marble, streetlight glitter, smeared across the floor, like fallen constellations. And somewhere above us the restaurant continues, humming, preparing another tower of sugar, for another table that won't blink at the arithmetic. I step outside and the city air is cool, briny with storm, honest in a way money never is. Under the awning, I scroll the thread unraveling in real time. Jess drafts an invoice in the language of elegance for shared experiences, and the number, split 4 ways, glares like a headlight. Liam posts a story from the rooftop captioned, "Real ones don't quibble. My silhouette a shadow at the frame's edge." Priya finally writes, "Can we talk tomorrow?" And the softness of it dents my stern resolve. The rideshare arrives with a sigh, and the city blurs into a cold aquarium of sodium glare and wiper rhythm. I rehearse answers to imaginary questions. Am I cheap? Ungrateful? Or simply refusing to pay tuition for belonging? The driver's radio murmurs a minor key. The night turns from glossy to granular as neighborhoods pass, bakeries sleeping, dogs tugging, windows warm with private economies of kindness. My chest loosens. Civilization feels possible at street level. Home is a quiet perimeter of plants and thrift store frames, the opposite of the rooftop's shining throat. I set the phone face down. It flips itself back with another vibration, a needy coin trick. Jess has escalated. Screenshots of restaurant etiquette blogs, a paragraph about community norms. Liam adds math, neat and merciless. Priya calls. I answer because gentleness is scarce tonight. Her voice is hushed, wind-chopped. She says she understands and then apologizes for understanding so quietly. I realize this isn't just about numbers. It's about the myth that generosity is measured by how much you bleed. I pace the living room, counting steps like beads, while the storm fingers the windows and the kettle hums its low, reasonable hymn. When we hang up, my phone is heavier with messages and lighter of obligation. I brew tea, let the steam fog my glasses, and choose to read nothing for 1 entire minute. The next ping is not from the group chat, but from an unknown number. Restaurant letterhead in the preview. Terse and immaculate. A courtesy notice about unsettled portions, suggesting my prompt attention. I feel a flush rise, not guilt, but the old fear of authority dressed as hospitality. I call the restaurant and ask for the manager. His voice is velvet laid over stone. He confirms the others paid, then pauses at my silence like a maître d' waiting for a coat. I explain gently, precisely, I ordered nothing. There is a long breath on his end, a rustle of policy papers. He says the matter is closed if their transfer's cleared. Only a misfire in the automated system. The apology is quiet, almost human. After we hang up, my shoulders drop from where I've been wearing them as earrings. Rain slows to a pattern you can live with. I text Priya, "I'm okay," And to my surprise, it feels true. Morning rinses the night from the city but leaves the aftertaste. Jess has posted a carousel, glittering desserts, clinking toasts, a caption about loyalty, stitched with needlepoint precision. Comments bloom like polite knives. I draft a message twice and delete both. The truest statement is absence. Priya sends a voice note, contrite and careful, promising coffee and a real conversation. No cameras. Liam remains a row of seen but unanswered blue ticks. I step outside where puddles mirror the sky and the bakery on the corner exhales warm cinnamon into the street. The world feels suddenly reasonable again, run by laws like hunger, weather, paycheck, breath. A text arrives from an unknown coworker who'd been at the restaurant in another corner of the room. Saw what happened. You were right. It's a small vote. Counted in private. I pocket the phone, choose a simple pastry, and pay exactly what it costs. Days pass in a strange quiet, the kind that settles after a social storm. The group chat lies dormant. No memes, no brunch plans, only the ghost of a conversation that ended before it could dissolve. At work, Jess's absence in the shared office space feels deliberate, her perfume still clinging to the air like punctuation. Liam pretends neutrality, but his small talk limps, and Priya sends check-in texts wrapped in ellipses. I answer kindly, but keep my distance. The thing about boundaries is no one applauds when you build them. They just notice the fence and wonder when they stopped being invited inside. I start walking home instead of taking the train, measuring the city in steps and streetlights. Somewhere between traffic hum and sunset glass, I realize peace doesn't announce itself. It accumulates, one unshared bill at a time. The weekend arrives with the promise of ordinary things. Laundry, groceries, the clatter of spoons in small kitchens. I visit my mother without meaning to tell her anything, but mothers hear what you don't say. She pours tea, listens, nods when I trail off. You did right, she says simply, and it lands heavier than any defense I've made to myself. I realize I've been craving validation like sugar, and her calm cuts through it clean. She tells me a story about refusing to pay for a friend's wedding gift decades ago. A moment of shame that aged into relief. People remember how you made them feel, not what you spent, she adds, rinsing cups with that final grace only older hands can have. The kettle hisses approval. My throat relaxes. Some debts, I think, can only be paid forward in honesty. That evening, a message pings from Priya. Jess is furious. She says you embarrassed her. I read it twice. Feel neither anger nor surprise, only fatigue shaped like understanding. I type back slowly. Embarrassment is free. Then I delete it. Instead, I send a single emoji, hands pressed together, polite, final. The truth is, I don't want victory. I just want quiet. The city outside hums its Friday rhythm, taxis and laughter, and the brief flare of youth pretending to be immortal. I sit by the window with a blanket and realize something. The opposite of being used isn't isolation. It's alignment. When the kettle clicks off, I let the silence fill every corner. A peace that doesn't need witnesses. The storm is past, but the air smells cleaner for it. Saturday noon. My screen lights with a tag notification. Jess has posted again. This time a quote. Some people just can't afford loyalty. A photograph of her laughing and a new restaurant follows. The comments applaud her resilience. I stare for a long time, not out of hurt, but awe at how narratives multiply. I think of how easy it is to buy applause when you foot the bill. My finger hovers over the block option, then rests. She's already edited me out of her story. I don't need to return the favor. Instead, I close the app, set the phone down, and step outside. Sunlight floods the street with a clarity social media never manages. Imperfect, honest, and shared for free. The air smells of coffee and asphalt, The kind of wealth no influencer can counterfeit. Later that evening, a knock breaks the quiet. Priya, shoulders tense, holding 2 cups of takeaway coffee like offerings. We sit on the couch in the hush of the hour when apologies can be whispered without breaking. She says Jess won't forgive me, that Liam doesn't want to take sides. I nod. You don't have to, I tell her, and it's the first time I believe it. We talk until the coffee cools into something gentler than caffeine, and laughter eventually sneaks in through the cracks. She promises she'll never film dinners again. I promise to stop measuring friendship in receipts. When she leaves, I notice the cups side by side on the table, identical in size, empty, but equally so. Fairness, I think, looks like that. Monday morning tastes like a clean slate. Paper, coffee, the faint hum of fluorescent forgiveness. I arrive early to the office, the kind of early that lets you breathe before everyone else noise begins. Jess's desk is empty, but her perfume still floats in the air, sweet and brittle. Liam enters with a nod, the kind that says let's forget without forgiving. I answer with silence polished into civility. Work resumes like choreography. Emails, meetings, small talk sanded smooth by routine. Yet under every polite exchange hums the ghost of that dinner, a lesson wrapped in linen. I realize power shifts quietly. Saying no rearranged the entire table, even when the table was gone. The day moves on. I don't owe apologies, and no one owes me gratitude. For once, that balance feels perfect. At lunch, Priya finds me by the vending machine. She's still talking about it, she whispers, eyes flicking toward the hallway. I smile. Not mockery, just the weary kind that forgives without ceremony. Let her, I say. Everyone needs their version. Priya exhales, relieved that I've made it easier for her to stay in both worlds. We share chips and quiet, 2 small mercies disguised as normalcy. Outside the window, a delivery cyclist glides through sunlight like punctuation in motion. I think of all the dinners I've attended to avoid being alone, and how loneliness, when chosen, feels like integrity with better light. Priya asks if I'd go out again someday. Just her. Just coffee. I nod. Some friendships survive when you stop feeding them with guilt. That night, Jess posts again. Another dinner, another table, new faces dressed in the same sheen of belonging. The captions sound rehearsed, but that's what comfort looks like for her. Control disguised as celebration. I scroll without emotion. Thumbs steady, then stop. There's a photo where she's laughing, glass raised, someone else's arm at her shoulder. I recognize the pattern now. Not betrayal, but repetition. Some people don't grow. They just replace witnesses. I lock my screen and set it aside. Growth doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it's the quiet click of a phone face down, the hum of your own heartbeat uninterrupted. The storm that began with a bill ends here, in the currency of calm. Weeks fold into each other. The sting dulls into story, and the story settles into lesson. Friends ask what happened, curious but cautious, as if the truth might be contagious. I tell it simply, I didn't eat. I didn't pay. Their expressions bloom in stages. Shock, admiration, self-reflection. A few nod slowly, understanding something they hadn't dared test. It's strange how a single refusal becomes folklore in a small circle. Priya and I start seeing movies on cheap Tuesdays. We laugh, share popcorn, and no one fights the bill. Once, she says softly, you know, you taught me something. I shake my head, but inside I hope she's right. Because maybe it's not about refusing to pay. It's about remembering what you're actually buying. Late one evening, I sit on my balcony with a cup of tea, the city unfolding beneath like circuitry. My phone buzzes once more, a new message from Jess. Just 5 words. Maybe I overreacted. Sorry. I stare at them, the digital ghost of pride softening at the edges. I don't reply. Not out of spite, but peace. Forgiveness doesn't always need a receipt. Sometimes it's enough to file it away under resolved. I close my eyes and let the wind tangle my hair. The noise of the city, rising like applause, I didn't earn, but somehow deserve. Above, the sky hums with quiet stars. Below, 1,000 dinners flicker through windows. Somewhere, someone else is learning to say no. Spring breathes through the city like an apology. The air smells of rain and redemption, softening edges that winter sharpened. I'm at a small art fair in the park, rows of canvases fluttering like laundry in sunlight. Priya walks beside me, camera-free this time, her laughter genuine. We stop at a booth selling watercolors, cheap, honest, beautiful. And for a moment, life feels uncurated. Then, through the crowd, I see her, alone, holding a paper cup of coffee, scrolling her phone with the absorbed panic of someone keeping up appearances. Our eyes meet by accident, then linger by choice. She looks thinner, smaller, unarmored. It's strange how people shrink when you stop owing them. She gives a cautious smile, and something inside me, bitterness, pride, maybe both, loosens just enough to let compassion breathe. Go say hi, Priya murmurs, gentle but firm. I hesitate, years of social calculus flaring back to life. But this isn't a rooftop, and I'm not the same student of silence I used to be. So I walk over. Jess looks up, startled, but grateful I came to her instead of away. "Hey," she says, voice tentative, like a song she forgot the words to. "Hi," I answer. Easy. The pause between us fills with everything unsaid, and somehow forgiveness grows there. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just practical, like rain returning to soil. She tells me she left the firm, that things got messy, that she's trying to simplify. I nod. I don't offer pity, just presence. Sometimes that's richer. Her shoulders drop, the tension exhaling through her smile. The fair noise folds around us, and we talk like people without debt. We sit on a low stone wall near the fountain. Two people once orbiting the same vanity, now meeting on level ground. Jess admits she's been sorting things out, her voice threaded with embarrassment and relief. I thought I was being generous, she says, staring at the rippling water. But I just wanted control. I nod, the honesty catching me off guard. For a moment, I see the woman I once followed, confident, magnetic, flawed, and feel no resentment, only recognition. Control's expensive, I say quietly. She laughs through her nose. The conversation drifts, awkward but real. And when we stand to leave, she doesn't ask for my number. I don't offer it. Forgiveness doesn't always mean return. Sometimes it's just allowing both of you to walk away lighter. That evening, I tell Priya how it went. She listens with the tenderness of someone who's seen every version of me. The cautious, the angry, the healed. "So you're friends again?" she asks. I shake my head. "No. But we're done being enemies," she smiles, approving. "Closure looks good on you." I laugh, realizing she's right. The truth isn't that I lost friends that night. It's that I stopped mistaking tolerance for connection. In the background, the kettle sings like it always does, steady, dependable. I pour 2 cups and hand her one, steam curling between us like unspoken gratitude. The city outside hums through the open window, and for the first time in months, I don't feel the need to defend my peace. Later, when I'm alone, I scroll back through old messages. The dinner invite, the laughter, the invoices, the silence. They feel like artifacts from another language. I delete them, one by one. Not in anger, but completion. The screen clears to a blank chat window, the digital equivalent of an open road. Outside, the moon leans heavy over the skyline, patient and unbothered. I think of all the versions of myself that sat at that table, the agreeable, the anxious, the afraid, and whisper a quiet goodbye to each. Some stories don't end with punishment or revenge. Some end with someone learning that no can be the most generous word in the world. Morning arrives like forgiveness dressed in gold. The city hums softer, more familiar now. Less like something to prove myself against, and more like something that just is. I tie my hair up, make coffee, and let the aroma curl through the quiet. The mug is chipped, the kind of imperfection I used to hide when company came over. Now I keep it because it's mine, because it's honest. My phone buzzes once, a reminder from my calendar. Dinner with coworkers. For a second, I almost feel the old panic rise, the ghost of that night whispering about numbers and fairness. Then I smile. I'll pay for what I eat. No more, no less. Balance doesn't demand defense. It simply exists. Outside, the world glitters in ordinary grace. I sip, inhale, and let the warmth remind me that peace, like taste, is meant to be savored, not shared out of guilt. At work that evening, the new team dinner unfolds in an unpretentious bistro. No skyline, no gold leaf, just laughter, clinking off mismatched glasses. The conversation moves easy, light, unweighted by performance. When the bill arrives, the manager sets it down without ceremony. Each person reaches instinctively for their own tab. No tension, no calculation. I watch the simplicity of it. How fairness doesn't even need to be discussed when respect exists. Someone cracks a joke about last time's fiasco dinner, and I just smile, letting it float past like an old song from another decade. The candle flickers once and steadies. I raise my glass, this time full of something I actually ordered. And toast, not to us, not to fairness, but to peace earned honestly. Later, walking home, the city feels lighter, its pulse matching mine. Street musicians play a slow jazz tune that turns every corner into memory. I pass the rooftop building where it all began. The windows shimmer like ghosts, reflecting nothing I still owe. For a moment, I stop, looking up at the glass that once held my shame, my fear, my awakening. I don't resent it. I thank it quietly for showing me who I was before I learned to draw the line. The wind smells of rain and fried onions and freedom. I cross the street before the light changes, just because I can. Sometimes growth is that small. One unhesitant step in your own direction. Back home, I sit by the window and open a blank document. For the first time, I write about that night. Not to publish, not to justify, but to remember it properly. Words flow like water that finally found its slope. I describe the table, the light, the laughter that cracked under its own gloss. I write about fear disguised as generosity, about guilt masquerading as grace. And I write about saying no, the word that saved me, reshaped me. When I finish, the page feels like closure pressed into language. I close the laptop, not to forget, but to keep. The story isn't a scar, it's proof I healed. Dawn creeps in quietly, blurring the edges between night and tomorrow. I step onto the balcony, barefoot, feeling the cold bite of the railing under my fingers. The city yawns below, alive but gentle. I think about the girl who sat at that table, unsure, polite, waiting for permission to value herself. And I realize she's gone, replaced by someone who no longer bargains for belonging. Somewhere inside, I whisper a soft goodbye to her, not in mourning, but in gratitude. Every version of me brought me here, to this stillness, this self that costs nothing and owes no one. The sun lifts over the skyline, gold washing over rooftops, and for the first time, I don't look away.